the future out there right now, if you're anywhere between the ages of 16 and 30, is really bad. Unemployment rate is over 50%. And a lot of people that we're competing with have been in jobs for 25, 30 more years than we have. They have all the required experience that these companies want. And most resumes are now online. Nobody meets you face to face anymore, so they can't tell what type of a person you are. They can't tell if you're a good guy, bad girl. They can't tell. They look at the sheet of paper, and there you are. So when I look at this and I look at all the expenses that have increased and I look at all these problems, we have to do something that encourages that type of creation. Now, very quickly, one last big part of this is also lowering property taxes. For me, the government's job is not to continually take money out of your pocket. And if we reduce property taxes by X amount of dollars, say 25 to 50%, what you're going to do is provide anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a year to homeowners in their pocket, which they're going to spend in their local community. So instead of the state taking your money and paying it to this part of the system or that part of the system or backing up this or saying, oh, what we're going to do is we're going to pay down this debt that we incurred from this project that we had. What we're going to do is we're going to give it back to homeowners, which are usually the most stable part of the system. And then you're going to dump it into that local area. Now, my name again is Tory Perfetti, and I'm running for State Rep District 48 against Peter Nehr in a primary. And I am a social and fiscal conservative, and I thank you for your time tonight, and thank you very much. Go ahead. Start.
All right. So just as a reminder, you have 2 minutes to answer each question.
Sure.
And Jim is going to ring the bell.
I'm waiting for the bell.
If you want to signal me.
He said there were 15 seconds, so I didn't want the bell to go.
He talks pretty fast, I think I'll get through it.
Okay, yeah. So the first question, and everyone has a copy of the sheet, and they mark their sheet as to whether they feel like you answered in a liberal, conservative, or moderate fashion, and then they turn their sheets in at the end of the evening. So the first question is this: Sharia law. Will you support the rejection of Sharia law in Florida and the U.S. in determining legal outcomes in court or in American society? Now, please explain your view.
Of course. Sharia law has absolutely no place in our system of government. Sharia law goes beyond simply a legal system. It's a religious system. It's a religious system that's based on Islam. And it's a system that is incredibly repressive, but it also takes out any form of actual justice left up to an independent legislature or independent judicial system. It completely removes all of those safeguards that we've always had in this society. Even though we've always been based on a very Judeo or Christian-oriented type of a system, and a very moral one at that, that has always spread across all levels of Christianity, we have always maintained a level of standoffness when it came to the legal system. We always had a justice system that was decided by all of us, not necessarily based on our religious aspects, but based on what was legal or not on all the laws that we've created over time. So Sharia law is horrible.
Thank you. Number 2, state climate regulations. Many regulations were added during the Christie administration that have added tremendous costs and created long delays in new building projects and all manner of maintenance. Will you fight to repeal burdensome EPA-based climate regulations that are crippling Florida today and create no more?
Of course. First off, I don't actually buy into the climate change as man-made, especially if you go back and look at the data. The data shows that as Earth rotates, we have years of ice age, years of mini ice age, years of warm weather, cold weather, very, very warm weather. It's how the system works. Man-made climate change is a farce, and in my opinion has been cooked data. And I would repeal those types of things. And I also would say this: I don't think there's anybody who would be logical and say, you know, I want a polluted river, or I want to go out and see oil being dumped down a sidewalk. And so I think it's very disingenuous that environmentalists have taken a cause like this and have decided to combine it with logical thinking and said, oh, well, what we're going to do is we're going to save the planet. Well, I don't think there's any Republican that I've ever met who has said, oh, well, I want to destroy the planet. This is a way, not just in the state of Florida, but nationwide, to impose a tax on everybody, a global tax, and create a global system of government, and create the money to provide whatever force there's created to police it. And that's a very dangerous thing, and that includes Agenda 21, by the way, which is a complete violation of private property rights. So,
Do you support a ban on third trimester abortion?
yes. I'm assuming, and my time could be off on this, but I know it's 6 to 9 months? With
6 to 9.
Yeah, 6 to 9 months, depending on the gestation period. That's ridiculous. My views on abortion, I'm Catholic, and as being a good Catholic standing in the church, you're not supposed to necessarily support abortion in any way. My opinion is that in the case of rape or incest, I do believe that there is a warrant to have an abortion there. You should, of course, talk about it and between the family. But rape and incest, or in the life of the mother, or if there's going to be a severe issue with the child. But other than that, people are using abortion today simply to make an excuse for not taking care of their own responsibilities. So I do not support that, and I don't support any abortion with the exception of what I just said. So.
Okay. Where do you get your news?
From quite a lot of places. I try to stay abreast of a lot of, I guess what you would say the enemy is doing. You have to read and see what they're doing. So I always do that. And being in the military, you're always taught to look at all data, no matter what it is, and then discern between it, of course, if you're intelligent enough to do that. But I love getting my news from Fox News, Drudge Report, Hot Air, a lot of those different places. But being as conservative as I am, I suppose I've always been able to look at any site and weed through it and say, wow, this is complete and total garbage. But this is what they're thinking. This is what they want to do. You have to look at what California is doing right now. Republicans did not pay attention to the redistricting commission in California. And you were not supposed to, under the law that was passed in California in 2010, you were not supposed to have any contact at all with the redistricting commission. Politicians were not supposed to be calling it. Republicans obeyed it. Didn't look and see what the other side was doing. Next thing you know, if you guys go look at it, they're pitting quite a lot of Republicans, who are very few in number there anyway, against each other. And there was contact with Democrats, so much so that even Democrats are saying this was incredible how much it's violated the law. So you do have to pay attention, I believe, very much to everything that's going on. But as far as correct sources of news, you want to go to very legitimate places, Fox News, Drudge, those types of things.
Thank you. Who is your political and campaign advisor?
I have quite a lot, actually, but a few in this room. I have standing to my left, Cody Fletcher, Jeff Antos. I, of course, had some wonderful advice from Michael Mahoen, and I've had advice before from Stephen Gately, and many different people that, it would take me, I think, longer than the bell to say. But I do have a lot of friends I've made over time. I've worked and helped out with Rick Scott's campaign in the area, and I've helped out from the beginning, by the way, as opposed to waiting after everything was settling out. And Marco Rubio and Congressman Bill Arakis is for about 10 and a half weeks there. And so I try to get advice from a lot of those, but in the end, real close advisors would be them.
Okay. Senator Lawless and Hooper have introduced a state bill that he refers to as a tax swap, eliminating the ad valorem property tax in favor of a new 1% transit sales tax if passed by the voters on a county referendum in 2013. This will more than quadruple the transit revenue from $32 million in ad valorem to a projected $138 million in the 1% sales tax, with the excess earmarked for light rail for Pinellas County. Will you support this effort to bring light rail system to Pinellas County by Senator LaBella and others in the county?
As I had mentioned earlier when I spoke, I think the light rail system is an absolute joke, and I would not support any tax increases in general that would support that type of a system. When we're trying to create jobs in this state, and we're talking about spending $3 billion, or roughly that, which is a one-off, by the way, when everybody talks about the federal government's going to provide us 2.2 to 3 point some odd billion dollars. I've never heard of anything so absolutely asinine that someone would park their car in a state where we don't have a tram system, we don't have a train system. We drive our cars everywhere. We drive our cars 10 minutes to the grocery store. You could walk a mile, but we would choose to drive. That's how Florida's been. Why would anybody park their car, get on a train, go to Orlando or wherever, and what, rent a car? And then who's going to pay for all the other costs afterwards? You know, so, and second to that, all these so-called, I'm going to cancel out one tax and one fee to have another tax, which is going to somehow do this. It's just sleight of hand. It's an old magician's trick. Usually a politician or politicians with that in mind will have no intention of giving any money away. There is always something in those types of bills that is going to cost you and everybody in the state a lot more money down the road. So they always want to show a temporary gain to crush you 10 years down the road. Or I should say even crush your kids or your grandkids. So no, that would be absolutely ridiculous to support that.
Right. So I think the next question you just answered. Will you reject any form of tax designated for any type of new passenger rail in the state of Pinellas County?
Of course.
Okay, I think you've answered that.
Yeah, again, just to elaborate, you know, look, we have a state, as I said, that is lacking a lot of self-sustainability. We're lacking self-sustaining jobs. We have an economic system that is built on tourism and is built on people moving here because it was cheap. It's not cheap anymore. We have property taxes that are the same as it is in a lot of northern states. We have problems here with our insurance. We've got one insurance company for how many counties that also have problems where you can't get sinkhole insurance in a county that has sinkholes. You know, we have a lot of issues here. And to talk about something like a light rail or increasing more fees on people when we've doubled licensing fees, we've increased fees on how to get your voting card. I mean, how many fees can we actually handle? And quite frankly,